People pleasing. The first time I heard of anyone who didn't know who they were was a friend of mine. And when they said, I don't even know who I am, they were opening up, they were confiding in me. But I was so shocked. I said, well, you have a driver's license. You can just look at your driver's license and it will tell you who you are. I honestly didn't understand the concept of not knowing your own identity. But of course, it goes so much deeper than the technical name and your birth and your weight that's listed on the driver's license. When a person doesn't know who they are, they've really lost touch with their own feelings, their own opinions. They don't tend to live according to their own rules, their own standards. Ultimately, they've lost touch with their own values, and the values are synonymous with the self. And so when they were saying, I don't know who I am, it's because they were a chronic people pleaser, and they were surviving through life trying to please everyone else, trying to do what everyone else wanted them to do. And a people pleaser can house a fantasy such as, I can make everyone happy. And so they think that they'll find fulfillment, or they think that they'll find their sense of identity through the process of trying to do what everyone else wants them to do. But is that really true? Kate was a chronic people pleaser. She eventually found herself as the president of her sorority club in college, but as she's sitting in the library and people are emailing her about all these things that she needs, she hit a wall. It was burnout. And she realized she wasn't going to be able to make everyone happy. And her friend said to her, Kate, have you ever actually said no? And it is a simple question, but Kate in that moment had an epiphany, because she realized the answer to that question, ironically, is no. She hadn't ever just said no to anyone. She had become a chronic people pleaser. She wanted to overcome and overcompensate for her insecurities and her seeming insufficiencies. And so she was going around trying to make sure everyone was happy, but she was never saying no. She was a never say no person. Do you know any never say no people? Are you one yourself? People pleasing can cause us to give responses to people that are inauthentic. So everyone says, hey, we're all going to go to the zoo, and you hate the zoo. But you say, okay, sounds great. That's inauthentic. And that's what people pleasing can do for you. Eventually, you can lose touch with what you really want. So you're not just going against the inner voice. You actually don't know what your own inner voice is. And so you start to think that maybe you're doing this because you want to do it, but you don't know the difference between what you want to do and what you want to do because other people want you to do it. And that's how we lose ourselves. People pleasers engage in covert contracts, which is where they're actually doing something with a covert reason or purpose behind it. So they're agreeing to walk your dog, or they're agreeing to clean your house, but really they're wanting to get something in return for the coffee that they brought you or the copies that they made you. So they are saying yes, and they are people pleasers, but they actually want or expect to receive something in return or in exchange for what they're doing for you. So their actions are very much transactional at that point. Many people pleasers are doing what they're doing out of fear. They are afraid of being rejected. They're afraid of being abandoned. They're afraid of what another person's feelings are going to be. They're afraid of what another person's going to say. They're afraid of what another person's going to do. So when you get down to the root, they're fear-driven, fear-based individuals. As a result, as they navigate through life, They find themselves acting different around different people. And so when they're in one group, they're going to act differently than when they're in this group over here. So when they're in their church group, they might put on a one particular personality, and then with their kicking it friends, they've got a whole nother personality. I mean, totally different. So much so where if someone from their church group were to walk into the room with their kicking it friends, they would be stuck. They wouldn't know what to do. They'd have a panic attack. Something as simple as the mixing of groups is very stressful for a people pleaser. Again, they believe they can make everyone happy. It's their job to manage other people's feelings. So they think. Kate said, I was trying to evade responsibility for my decisions. Sometimes for us as people pleasers, we like the idea that other people are going to be in control or other people are going to make decisions for us. So we go with it. And that's how Hindi was. So Hindi grew up in a strict Muslim family by her description. As a result, she said at 29 years old, she was old enough to be a mother of 3 kids, but not old enough to stay out past 10. And so she lived with her parents, and she kind of liked the comfort of her parents making all her decisions for her and kind of like guiding, controlling her life. But she had to admit she was actually evading responsibility for her decisions. And that's why she did it. She identified in time that people pleasing was due to codependency. If you don't know what codependency is, it's viewing yourself as nothing without another person. And so when you're codependent with your family of origin, you believe that your worth is whatever the family of origin assigns to you as your worth. Your worth is the family itself. Your value is the family itself. So therefore, your identity is just a part of a family instead of having your own individual identity. And so Hindi went on to want to become a comedian, but when her parents found out that she wanted to become a comedian, of course, they resisted it. No, what are you doing? Don't do that. You're never going to get a husband doing something like that. You can't be respected. And so now she had a conflict between what she wanted, something she loved, and what her parents thought, which was they disapproved of her desires, of her opinion. So what would she do? She said it became particularly hard when she would have a hard night on the stage and the audience wouldn't laugh, because then she's not getting approval at home and she wasn't getting approval from her audience either. Eventually, she needed to learn not to seek approval from anyone. She needed to learn to stop being a people pleaser. So, how can you do this? I want you to recognize that you cannot make everyone happy. That is a false belief. If you go through the list of history of current celebrities and anyone you know who is a historical figure, did they make every person happy? The reality is everyone has haters, right? Everyone has haters, detractors, people who dislike them. So it's not actually possible, and it's not a reasonable goal to hope that you'll go through life getting everyone to like you. The people who you are trying to please, if it's your family, try to keep in mind that they are not qualified to be the authority of your entire life and existence. They're just humans like you. They don't possess any special skill or ability or divine wisdom that you don't have access to. So you are the leader of the self. You are responsible for your decisions, whether you're trying to let your parents be responsible for them or your spouse be responsible for them. In the end, you are still responsible for how you utilize your life, how much you reach your potential, how you utilize the raw resources that you've been given. You're not escaping responsibility. So stop. And in the end, the very same people who you tried to please, if you did whatever they told you to do, they will turn around on you and tell you you are a disappointment for how little you accomplished. So they'll literally say, don't go to college, don't be a comedian, don't do this, don't go here, don't travel. And then so you'll stay home and you'll make yourself small because you think you're pleasing them. And then what will happen? 10 years later, they're going to look at you and they're going to say, why didn't you ever do anything with yourself? You never made anything of yourself. Whatever happened to that dream of doing comedy? How come you never went to college out of state? How come you never traveled? The same people. So let me save you the 10 years of suffering by letting you know you cannot please other people. We can't actually make other people happy. That's a false concept. You can't make another person happy. Every individual is responsible for their own happiness. And so you're responsible for whose happiness? Yes, your own. You're responsible for your happiness. That's what you need to focus on, not trying to please mom and dad and community and everyone else. It's not that we don't take their thoughts and advice and opinions into consideration. They might have some good opinions to give. And that's why the key to breaking free of people pleasing is to actually be balanced, not to go to the other extreme and to be just like a rebel, a bad person, to rebel because you feel like you can't please everyone is just going to the other extreme. And some do this, maybe through dyeing their hair colors and whatever seems to be extreme in your society, wearing a leather jacket and piercing your face. But just trying to be a rebel is not the way to overcome people pleasing. That's just going to the other extreme. So what do? Well, we got to find the balance, right? Well, how do we find the balance? Well, we need skills. First of all, we need skills. Skill you need is the skill of assertiveness, the ability to say no, right? But it's very hard and it's very scary to say no if we've never said no before. I mean, just imagine you've gone your whole life never using a word. And now suddenly we tell you to use this word. And this word could come with really big consequences. And so how do we overcome the fear of saying no? Well, we have ways that we can do it, right? Such as to say, let me get back to you. So if you're looking to overcome people pleasing, put that phrase down in your notes. Let me get back to you. So how should we use this phrase? If you're in healing, you need to give yourself 2 months, maybe 3, of always saying no at first. And you can use this phrase as your way of saying no. Let me get back to you. So it's basically saying, let me think about it, which is a phrase you can use. It's not a really hard no, right? It's not even a no at all. It's just a stall. What's the value of a stall? A stall is one of the ways that we assert a boundary. Sometimes we don't know if we want to set a boundary or not, right? And that's the value of a stall. And so you'll actually go forward and say, I'll get back to you on that. Let me think about that. And then you're going to go and think, why is this valuable? Because it prevents you from being in the routine of saying yes. We have to use stalls every single time someone asks us for anything for a period of 3 months so that we build up the skill and create the neural pathway of self-sufficiency, of displeasing and disappointing others. We have to build up the skill of letting people down. And so we start with this stall tactic. Let me think about it. Let me get back to you. Okay? Now, what do we do after we tell people that? And by the way, let me reemphasize, you need to say this for everything. Your mom comes to you to borrow some money. Let me think about it, Mom. Let me get back to you. Is she going to hate that? Maybe she'll start yelling and fussing, but your answer doesn't change. Yeah, let me think about it. Let me get back to you. That's it. So regardless of what people do, you're still going to say no, or in this case, use the stall tactic. Now you have to decide if you put them off. Now you have to make a decision, but you've got the time and the space now that you've created for yourself. So congratulations. We're already starting to find ourselves, even if we don't know what we want to do yet, because we've created some space for us by not just saying, yes, 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 whatever you want. Just let me think about that. Let me get back to you. You have asserted yourself. Something shifts in the universe, by the way, when you do this, and the other person now recognizes there's another person in the room. And they're not a peon, they're not a lackey, they're not a slave. There's another person in the room, and they've just asserted their agency. They've already asserted their agency by telling you to wait. It's very good to do this because it teaches others to respect you right from the outset. And the sooner you start using this in the relationships, the better. When you start using it late in the relationships, well, then it's harder because you're going to get those scary bad reactions. But does this change what we need to do? No, it's just harder later in the relationship, right? So what do we do once we've gotten people to go away, angry as they may be, that we have now told them they have to wait? Well, now we meditate and we think about it for ourselves. What do you want? What do you want to do? How do you prefer to move forward? For instance, you may personally be thinking about your desires, your wishes, your purpose in life. Does this align with my purpose? There's one of the most important questions we can ask. Does it align with my purpose? Think about it now. When Mary came to Jesus at the wedding and said they ran out of wine, did Jesus say, okay, mother, what do you want me to do? No. If you go to the scripture, Jesus actually said, what does that have to do with me? That was his initial response. Why is this my problem? Right? So we need to be able to go into situations and decide for ourselves, does this align with my purpose before we just jump out and say, yes, what can I do? How can I serve everyone and do everything that everyone wants me to do? And we do that by letting people know, hey, okay, let me think about it. Just give me a second. I'll get back to you. Now we're thinking, does this align with my purpose? Does this align with my values? Is this something I want to do? Do I like this? Am I into this? And then we got to be honest. Just got to be honest. If it doesn't align, is that what we want to do? We don't like it and we're not into it. And we got to go back and we got to tell them no. So how do we do that? You say, hey, that's not going to work for me. Ring, ring. Hey, buddy. Yeah, remember you were talking about coming over using my truck. I did think about it and it's not going to work out for me this time. Hey, mom, remember you said you wanted to borrow money from me? It doesn't look like that's going to work for me this time. Okay. All right. So let's address everyone's big fear. Oh my God, we're going to disappoint people. So what if they get mad and angry? And what if they reject us or abandon us or yell at us or take something away or try to punish us or try to hurt us or get violent? Whatever it is you're fearing. Put this in your notes. I can handle it. You got to weather the storm. You got to weather the storm. A good word for weathering the storm is nevertheless, right? So you tell someone, no, I'm not going to be able to help you out with moving this weekend. And they say, well, I helped you with moving. And then you say, thank you so much for that. Nevertheless, I'm not going to be able to help you with moving this weekend. Nevertheless. Yeah. So it helps you in your brain to have that word kind of locked in so you can understand like how to get out of the paradox they try to put you in, right? Nevertheless, every time. Well, I gave birth to you and I appreciate that. Nevertheless, it's not going to work for me this time. Couple notes about saying no, letting people know something's not going to work for you. Never explain why something's not going to work out for you. Never try to explain why. That's number one. Put that in your notes. Never try. Why don't we try to explain? Very simple. It's a bad strategy. If you try to give someone an explanation for why you're not going to do something that they want you to do, they are professional manipulators. So the very first thing they're going to do is say, well, why? And the reason they're doing that is because they need to draw out your argument so that they can go in and argue against your argument. They need to pick apart your argument. So as a form of strategy, I am telling you as your coach, do not give them your argument. Don't tell them why, because then they have nothing to pick apart. You see how this works? Hey, bro, can I borrow your car? Hey, I thought about it and it's not going to work out for me this time. Well, why? Well, because, I got to take Sandra to the park. Well, I can take her. Well, I really don't like a lot of people driving my car. I'm not a lot of people. I'm your brother. See the problem? And then you go, oh, okay. Oh, and you come back to me, Roman, I did say no, but then they had all these good argument points. No. We don't owe anyone an explanation for why they can't utilize our resources. So don't give anyone an explanation, especially if they're potentially a dangerous taker, egopath, narcissist, abuser, greedy person. Don't give them any explanation, because then they're going to try to pick apart your explanation. So how does that look when you don't give an explanation? Watch carefully how I do this. Hey, bro, can I borrow your car? Hey, I thought about it and it's not going to work for me this time. Why? I just said, bro, it's not going to work for me this time. I'm sorry, though. Well, I don't see what the problem is, why you can't let me borrow it. Yeah, I understand that, but nevertheless, it's a no for this time. All right, I got to get going. Bam, end the conversation, you're out of there. I've already told him 2 or 3 times. He knows the answer by now. It's done. You see how I did that? I don't want you to miss any of it. All right, break it down. He asked me, I said no. He asked me why. I didn't answer his question. Hey, mom, remember you asked me for money? It's not going to work out for me this time. And why not? Like I said, mom, it's not going to work out. Well, why is it going to work out? I certainly do enough for you, blah, blah, blah. You live under my roof. Blah, 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 blah. And I appreciate all that, mom. Nevertheless, it's not going to work out this time. It doesn't work for me. End of discussion. Then you end the discussion like this. Gotta go, mom. You leave the room or hang up the phone. Put a temporary block on their number so you're not getting the fallback, right? You have the ability to weather the storm, right? So yeah, you're going to say no. And if you've never said no to these people, well, forgive me, but they're probably going to do some pushback, because they got to get you back in line with the old way that the relationship used to work, which is where they take all of your resources and then you just sit there passively and just get bullied. Okay, that works for them. So understand, they're going to push back. You can't watch this one class and be like, oh, I'm going to say no, and then expect everyone to just not push back after 30, 40 years, you've never said no to them, right? But something miraculous happens when you say no to healthy people. They will surprise you with their response. Hey, bro, can I borrow your car? Hey, man, I thought about it. It's not going to work out for me. Oh, hey, you know what? I feel bad for even asking. Don't worry about it. I'll try to ask someone else. That's how the person responds. Mom, remember that money you asked me to borrow? It's not going to work out for me this time. Don't worry, baby. The Lord will provide. That's how healthy people respond. They say, oh, I'm so sorry. I feel bad for even asking you for your resources. That's how you know you're dealing with a healthy person. And believe me, for that person, you're going to feel motivated to bend over backwards. You might even change your mind in that moment. Be like, you know what? Here, take the car, take the money, because you're a good person. You care about my feelings, my resources. You're not trying to be greedy. You really needed help. But as soon as they show you that they push against your boundaries, when you set a boundary, you got to be more firm with them. Yeah, more firm when they push against your boundaries. So it's got to be like this. Hey, can you babysit for me this weekend? Let me think about it. Let you think about it. What's to think about, man? Okay, well, if you're going to push me, then it's an automatic no. Um, Whoa, what just happened there? I had to be more firm with them. I had to be more firm. Do you know why? Because they pushed against my boundaries as disrespectful. And if you disrespect my boundaries, you're showing yourself to be a toxic person. And I don't have any generosity toward a toxic person, toward a taker, toward an abuser. I got nothing for you. There's an automatic no, because I asked you for a little time to think about your request. And you said, what do you got to think about? Well, I guess you're right. I got nothing to think about. We're done. It's a no. And it's a block as soon as we get off the phone. Don't tell them that. Just block them. Okay. Talk to you later. Block. You're done. You're out. Is it that simple? Yeah. If you follow that pattern, you will actually cut narcissistic people out of your life. And you won't be back in my office later saying, I don't understand how everyone in my life is a narcissist. Everyone in your life is a narcissist because you don't cut people out, because you don't set boundaries, because you're afraid of rejection. When a person is a people pleaser and they are afraid of rejection, they do everything they can to try to keep all the people in their life. Oh, please don't leave. Don't leave. You got to get the opposite idea in your head. You want people to leave. You would rather have no friends or just one friend that's healthy than to have 25 toxic friends. All that popularity does you no good if it's going to send you into mental unhealth. You would rather have no family or one family member that you talk to than to have a huge family that takes advantage of you and uses you and puts you down. The other note for saying no is never change your mind under pressure. So when you get that blowback and they will start putting the pressure on you, well, I've done this. Well, you owe me that. Well, how come? At that time, you can never change your mind under that circumstance. When you said no or let me have time to think, you cannot change it. It stays a no, or it stays a give me time, but you cannot change it. Does that make sense? Do you understand why you can't change under pressure? Just in case someone doesn't understand why, let me explain. For the toxic abusers and the narcissists, they are always testing you. So when they push past your boundary and you fold, then you've taught them, you're training them, push a little harder and I will fold. You understand? So the kids say, Mom, can I get $1,000 to go to Arizona with my friends? And you say no. And then, Mom, come on. And they do all that. And then you say, okay. You just taught them. You just trained them. Push harder, whine louder. And that's how you get what you want from me. You understand? You are training abusers in your life. Don't do that. There's already enough abuse that you've gone through and that you're going to go through. Don't train people to be abusive and to take more. So the way we make sure we train people properly is we stay firm as a rock, solid as concrete. Once we've said something, it came out of our mouth, that's our word. And we need to be impeccable with our word. Right? It's one of the 4 agreements. You need to be impeccable with your word. So when you say no, or you say, give me time, it doesn't change. Well, why do you need time? Because I need time. Well, nevertheless, I need time. Okay, well, I still need time. It doesn't change. If it's a no, it's a no, it's a no, it's a no, it's a no. The only time you get to change your mind is when you've gotten the time and the space. And they said, okay, yeah, you take time. And then you take your time and then you can change and say, okay, I'm going to think about this and I'm going to change my mind now because I'm not under pressure because this is what I want to do. Never backpedal. Never backpedal. So what if you're going to feel bad? So people say that, right? They're like, but I would feel so bad saying no. I would feel so guilty, right? Okay, feel bad. That's fine. It's just evidence that you're a good person. Nevertheless, you say no. If it's a no, it's a no. It's up to you to decide. But you can feel bad saying no. Hey, I've thought about what you asked me for and I really wanted to help, but I'm sorry. This time it's a no. It's not going to work for me. You feel so bad. And they can say, oh, no, I can't believe this. You were my last hope. And you can go, oh my God, that's terrible. I feel so bad. And they say, so then you're going to help me? You say, no, I'm still not going to help you. But I do feel really bad for you. I feel really bad. You get it? The boundary stays the same. So you can feel the feelings. That's fine. You can feel bad. You can cry with them. That's fine. I feel so bad that I can't help you. That's so bad. And they can, but it's going to stay the same. So we can sit here and cry, but at the end of the day, it still doesn't work for me. Does that make sense? So don't worry about feeling bad. That just shows that you're a good person. That's what guilt is. Guilt is an expression. We choose to feel guilt, by the way. So you don't have to fear your own guilt. That's silly. Oh, I fear that I'll feel guilty. Well, the guilt is based on your own standards, your own principles, your own values. When you feel guilty, you are expressing your values as a person. You're saying, oh, I feel bad for how I treated her. Yeah, because you're a good person. Bad people don't have guilt. Psychopaths aren't feeling bad for how they treated someone. So it's an expression of your own goodness. So embrace that. Oh, I feel so guilty for having to say no to my mom and not give her money. Yeah, because you're good. You're such a nice, you're a good person, right? So that's a good thing. Which brings me to another point, which is if we want to get out of people pleasing, then we have to understand the difference between niceness and kindness. So what is the difference between niceness and kindness? So make sure you're very clear. You do not want to be a nice person. There's a direct correlation between niceness and anxiety. So if you are a nice person, you are likely to be high in anxiety. You're likely to attract and keep abusers all around you and all in your personal space. So you don't want that. Don't be nice. Do not be nice. So a lot of people think, well, the opposite of being nice is mean, and they're afraid to be mean. I would say be more afraid of being nice than being afraid to be mean. I would prefer what your definition of mean is, which, by the way, isn't actual meanness. Like saying no to someone isn't mean. You're like, oh, that would make me a mean person. That's not mean, but embrace that. If that's your idea of what being a mean person is, embrace it. Own it. I'm mean now. That's fine. But do not, under any circumstances, be a nice person. Don't be nice. What you want to be is kind. What's the difference? Make sure you get this. Niceness is motivated by fear. It's pleasing. It's all about, oh God, I'm going to do whatever I can so that you're basically being false. Niceness is false so that you can please and appease others, either out of fear or out of your personal desire to gain something from the other person. That's what niceness is. You're doing it out of fear or your personal desire, which sometimes is greedy, to gain something from the other person. It's all of its manipulation. Don't be nice. Don't be nice. Be kind. What is kind? Kindness is a generosity of the heart that comes from a place of abundance. The difference between kindness and niceness is that kindness is motivated by love. So ask yourself, am I doing this nice or kind thing, this good deed, because I love the person? Because I'm motivated by a heart full of this positive energy force that is love? Or am I doing it because of dark energy? Because I'm afraid of what people are going to think and what they're going to say and how they're going to feel? Or because I'm doing something transactional? And then you see the difference between niceness and kindness. Be a kind person. Be a kind person. Don't be nice. Don't be nice. You can be generous. You can be loving, but it's got to be motivated by true love and abundance. So hopefully that makes sense for you. Niceness is the enemy. It's directly linked to anxiety. Finally, another tip I want to give to you as we wrap up here is choose the fuel-efficient version of yourself. Choose the fuel-efficient version of yourself. What I mean is we need to consolidate our personality. This idea that you've been doing since being a child or going around and acting different in this group, acting different in that group, acting different in that group, it is childish. Don't do that anymore. It takes a lot of energy and it's not sustainable because eventually groups come together. And that's why you can't get your YouTube channel up because you're too busy worried about what everyone's going to think when all these different groups see you. You need a version of yourself that is authentic and sustainable. It needs to be fuel efficient. So think for a moment about yourself and visualize, do meditations on a daily basis for a couple weeks of how you would respond, how you would be if you were 100% authentic. And then back that down maybe about 85%, right? Because we want some kindness in there. And here's what I mean. If I was 100% authentic when my professor makes a joke and I don't like the joke, 100% authenticity is this. That's foul. I might even say that, like, that was a dumb joke. That's a little harsh, right? So I'm going to back my authenticity down to about 85% authenticity. I'm going to respond like this when he makes a joke that I don't like. You see that? Just a little face change is enough kindness to show that I acknowledge he has attempted at a joke, but I'm not giving him more than that. He's not getting a belly laugh from me. No fake laughter. Why? Because I'm authentic. You know what's good about that? If you actually see me laugh, you know it's real. And that's a beautiful feeling. It's a beautiful feeling to be in the presence of an authentic person. Although you might not like what they say and you might not like what they do and you might not like every single way that they treat you in every circumstance, you know they're real and you appreciate that. So walk through life mainly being authentic. Be your authentic self, which means that you'll be in touch with how you really feel and you won't laugh at jokes that aren't funny to you and you won't go to events that aren't inspiring and stimulating to you. You won't say yes and you won't do favors that don't align with your purpose. Be real. Hey, this is not going to work for me. Not this time. I had some friends recently. They invited me to come to a baseball game with them. The only thing I hate more than playing baseball is watching it. And you know what? That's what I told them in those exact words. And they were so kind to invite me to this game. But I said, no way. That was my response. They said, Roman, there's a baseball game. Do you want to come? And I said, no way. Those are the words I used. And then I followed up with, when they asked why, I said, because the only thing I hate more than playing baseball is watching it. And how did they respond? Did they say they were never going to hang out with me again and abandon me and reject me? No. They just laughed. And some people disagreed. Other people agreed. And I told them I would meet them after the baseball game and we could do whatever. But I just will not be at a baseball game. Why? Because that's authentic to me. So be your authentic self. Be real. And then you're more trustworthy. You can sleep better. And instead of being a people pleaser, you will be self-confident, self-sufficient.